plans for Canal Days 2000 were officially unveiled in mid-July at a reception held at the Sugarloaf Marina in Port Colborne. Members of the media, dignitaries, and guests assembled to share in the excitement of what lay ahead as Port Colborne prepared for the 22nd annual Canal Days.
First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for attending our event today and recognizing, of course, the importance of Canal Days as not only as an event hosted by the City of Port Colborne, but as well an event on behalf of the entire region of Niagara. Canal Days encourages the celebration of our heritage in relation to the Welland Canal and the St. Lawrence Seaway system, as well as the contributions this infrastructure has had in the past, in the present, and will continue to have in our future. As we notice with the backdrop around us, as well as throughout the entire community and throughout the entire region, you truly get a chance to appreciate the catalyst of the entire region's dependence as well as evolution toward its success being surrounding the Welland Canal. Directly beside us, we see 2 of 3 working mills, as well as Sugarloaf and Marlin Marina. Ships entering the system over to my right on their way to transport goods across the globe. Throughout the community, we see industry, not only heavy, but as well as commercial, in terms of surrounding the Welland Canal and of course having to do with the attributes that the Welland Canal has to offer the City of Port Colborne. New markets, of course, being created throughout the community to see firsthand and to give the people, not only from abroad, but also the locals, a chance to see firsthand the odyssey in which many of us take for granted throughout the entire region. The Welland Canal has given to this community, this region, industry, leisure, a quality of living. Now, of course, we must continue to give back. Give back by recognizing and acknowledging our heritage, but more importantly, ensuring that what we have to celebrate today does not get lost for the generations of tomorrow.
Cogeco accepted Port Colborne's invitation to visit one of the region's preeminent events. This year's Canal Days ran from August 4th through 7th. Here's a look at just a few of the many things Canal Days had to offer. And while the weather was gloomy on the day we attended, the mood of the thousands in attendance wasn't.
Actually, the car show has been part of the Canal Days for about 20 years. It's one of the originators, and it started up at the museum here in Port Colborne. What it is, we're all a bunch of car enthusiasts. We just a bunch of friends. We're not a club. I got about 20 volunteers who help me. We just get together. We have some meetings. We organize it together. I'm more like a chairman, but there's probably 20 people who all have jobs to do. So I just kind of sit back and they designate a little bit of what's going on, but they do all the running around. They deserve a lot of credit for this. And it's just a bunch of good people having a lot of fun. But right now, we're probably one of the very, very few, if not the only one, that's free anymore. We like to thank all our sponsors, like Young Automotive, the City of Port Colborne, Fram Filter. If it wasn't for sponsors like those and many more, they donate all our trophies, they take care of everything. And we've like 120 door prizes this year to give out to the cars, and that's all for free. And our 50-50 is a huge part of it. Last year, now mind you, because of the rain, it's a little different this year. We were expecting about 400 cars. We're a little over 200 right now. But our 50-50 draw has always been a big one too. Last year we had $1,400 went to the winner. This year we're up to about $500 the winner will get too. What we do is we let the car people choose amongst themselves which are the nicest cars. They picked them, and we just do it that way. We have a lot of specialty awards. We've had some people that work with us for a few years that have passed away, and we have memorial awards for them, and those ones mean a lot to us. We usually fill this spot behind you and everything with cars and right up onto the hill. And this morning when we got up, we slept in a trailer. We figured about 6 o'clock, it was pouring rain. We thought, well, what do we do? Do we pack it in? We sat around and waited, and by 6:30 cars started to pull in. By 8 o'clock, it was pouring rain. We had 100 cars, so it went really well. It's really tough because it's not the rain. A lot of people say, well, water won't hurt the car. It's not that. It's the driving on the roads. The cars get filthy up inside the motors. Like, these guys have a lot of money tied up in their cars. Like, you know, you look around here, a lot of these cars are $30,000 cars, and just to clean them, it's like an 8-hour chore afterwards. Get them home, clean the frames, wipe the motors down, and yeah, it's a lot of work. A lot of people don't realize how much work it is keeping these cars clean and getting them ready for the next show, and it's a lot of work. And these guys deserve a lot of credit for coming out in a weather like this and doing this.
depends on the dog. Some dogs need extensive training, some dogs learn it very quickly. Tia was one of those that learned very quickly in 3 months, and extensive training. I mean, we practice 2, sometimes 3 times a week. And we teach them to go over the hurdles separately, then we teach them to trigger the box separately. We teach them to chase us so that they come back quickly. I mean, we teach separate parts of the game, and then once they've learned those, we put them together. And then once they've learned those, once they've learned the game, then we introduce the distraction of other dogs, because most dogs are very social and they'd rather go and play with other dogs. But in this kind of a race, you have to have your dog's complete attention. Our team has several different breeds. We have several Jack Russells. We have mostly Border Collies, red and whites, black and whites, and tricolors. We also have Australian Shepherds on our team. We have a Sheltie, black and white Sheltie. We have a variety, and really any breed of dog that you can train to do this can race. I'm a veterinarian, and one of my clients came in and I commented on how fit her dog was and said, wow, what do you do with her? Because most of the pets that we see are couch potatoes and you really don't do much. And hers looked to me like an athlete, so I asked her and she invited me to come out and see a practice, and that was just the beginning. A fairly heavy commitment. It depends on how serious your team is, and because our team right now holds the world record of 16.06 seconds to complete 4 dogs across across the actual race. We also are the North American champions from last year. It's a big commitment. We raced, I think it was 8 tournaments that we raced last year. This year we're not racing as many, we're only racing probably about 5 tournaments. So it depends on how serious you are. I mean, there's a lot of people that do this just as a hobby and maybe come out once a week, maybe come out once a month, or maybe just meet at tournaments and race at tournaments. But we practice fairly extensively, and it's good for the dogs to stay fit. So it's good to get them exercised even daily and then race them in tournaments. A lot of the initial training is done with food, and especially Jack Russells. Not much gets her attention except for food, and you may have noticed I do use a little bit of food with her just because in a crowd I can't call her, I can't really get her attention. So food is a great big motivator, and other things like a frisbee is also a great motivator. If they like a toy, you'll see a lot of us use tug toys that we catch them with, and then we have their attention, we have them under control. So motivators are what we get the dogs to do, or what we use to get the dogs to train and to learn this game.
The museum started Canal Days in 1979 because we were celebrating the 150th anniversary of the Welland Canal. So we started with one small event with 400 people here that year, and it was such a success that we thought we would carry it on. That was 22 years ago, or it was 21 years ago, and we're having our 22nd annual Canal Days now. Well, the mandate of the first Canal Days was to promote the Welland Canal to the people, and so that they would understand how important it was to our community, to our economy, and so that was the purpose of it. And I think that's what we've done. We've met that mandate. We've certainly expanded it so that people are aware, not just in Port Colborne, but in the Niagara Peninsula, and just what the Welland Canal means to us. Well, today started out slowly because it was raining. Yesterday we had just fantastic crowds, and today we were very pleased to see that people were coming, even though it wasn't shining, it was raining out. I was surprised. They started right at 11 o'clock. Our crafters are so hardy that they go rain or shine. It doesn't matter what it's like. And so I just been hearing people say, oh, look at all they have on the site here, and things to do for children, the remote control model boats the kids like, and this year we have a fishing pond so that the kids can do that, and a contest for the children. And the music, people are, foot tapping, and I think everybody's having a really good time. Our site is a heritage village, so I think that is good for an event like this because we have our log houses, and we have a 1915 tea room, we have an 1869 home, we have a carriage house, the variety, the blacksmith shop also. So it does lend itself to having an event with a variety of things going on. And because we're in a block with the library, we can expand onto the grass and then have the craft show. So I think it is of benefit to us to be in the middle of downtown also. A lot of museums aren't right in the middle of downtown, and this way we're a block from the Welland Canal. So what could be more perfect? We're a block from the tall ships and a block from all of the activities on West Street.
Actually 8 years for the Canal Days Festival. Our club is 10 years old, but in 8 years ago, in 1992, I believe, we started this with the blessing of the Canal Days Planning Committee.
and it's grown every year. Actually, last year we probably had a few more flyers out. A few stayed away because of the heavy winds today. But it attracts quite a crowd and a good range of flyers. We have them from Ohio, New York State, Toronto, and Kitchener, Waterloo, Windsor, all across Ontario, Ottawa Valley even. So we have a nice mix of flyers here today, so we're really pleased. Our club is extremely informal. We actually don't even have an elected president. We just concentrate on flying, and the last Sunday of every month, April through October inclusive, we fly here in Port Colborne and Lakeview Park. And if anybody wants to drive to Lakeview Park on the last Sunday of the month, we'd be happy to let them try some kites, talk to us about kiting. It's a very inexpensive hobby to get started in, and of course you can, like any hobby, you can go crazy too and spend money, but it's a nice low-cost way to get started in a really interesting hobby, and good for the whole family too. We have individuals and we have families involved. It's great.
Wow, we met a long time ago.
Yeah, but what, 6 or 7 years ago?
Yeah.
We were just recreational kite flyers. I was beginning competitions, and then I got drew into it. We used to fly in a team of 3. We're down to 2 now. We've been competing in the Masters class on the circuit, which is the highest level, for about 5 years.
There's 4 different levels, from novice through intermediate experienced, and then Masters is the top class. So each person flies in the category where that's most appropriate for them. And you tend to move up every year until you're at the top, and then you stay there until you retire. Well, kites have a specific way of moving, and they have sort of an explosive dynamic, and then also very soft curvatures that you can use. And so we tend to look for music that's appropriate for what a kite does, and then we tend to craft based on the beat and the rhythm and the tempo of the music. And so the music sort of gives you a sense of atmosphere that you want to create, and then you work and play with the relationship between the kites and the relationship between the kites and the music.
This is a sport kite, it's called, and sport kites are defined because they're controlled by more than one line. This particular kite has 2 lines which are attached to the 2 different bridles here, and basically the kite can steer across the sky. The difference between this and a toy store kite is that it's made with a lot higher tech materials. The sailcloth is derived from sailboats. It's a ripstop polyester. Has more in common with a high-tech plastic than it does your sweater or anything like that. The tubes are carbon fiber. They're wrapped. They're similar to like high-end fishing rods or golf shafts. They're really stiff and really strong. And it's what makes the performance of these kites possible, is the combination of lightness and strength of the materials.
Normally kite flying is not that arduous, except when the winds are very high. Kites can generate a lot of force that you manage through your handles, and there's actually a lot of sports with kites that have been built based on that. They're called traction sports. They'll take very large foils or kites with a lot of pull, and you'll put on skis, get in a buggy, go on a surfboard, go at very high speeds, do a lot of jumping. We focus mostly on competitive sport kiting, so we want the least amount of pull in our kites as possible. When the winds get very high, there's nothing you can do. You just hang on and hope you don't get dragged away.
A special visitor this year was the Fireboat E.M. Cotter. While new to Canal Days, the Cotter has been to Port Colborne before. Cornelius Keene of the Buffalo Fire Department explains.
It was in 1960. The Cotter responded to a grain elevator fire up here in Port Colborne.
And this is a pretty unusual response.
I would imagine it is, because it's to another country, cross-border. I think it was the first time that we ever responded across to Canada to help put out a fire. So I would imagine it's quite unusual. At the current time, the Fireboat is exactly 100 years old this year. It's as old as the Queen Mum, if you will. And we're very proud of her. She's a grand lady of the Great Lakes. She's given outstanding service for 100 years to the Port of Buffalo and, as we explained earlier, to the Port of Port Colborne. We believe it's an integral part of Buffalo's history. We've spent an awful lot of money to refurbish the boat and to make sure that for many, many years into the future that she is a viable firefighting vessel for the city. Currently, the Fireboat is docked at the foot of Michigan Avenue in Buffalo. She is used today as a for firefighting response or anything on the waterfront, housing or marina, or some of the grain elevators that still exist in Buffalo. But also it's a very effective icebreaker. And in the bitter cold months of January, February, and March, the Cotter serves as an icebreaker, breaking the ice up the Buffalo River and in the harbor, so that to alleviate any possibility of flooding in the springtime to some of the outlying areas around Buffalo. There's no question about it, you have to have a special expertise to work on the fireboat. You have to not only know about firefighting, but you have to know about operating marine vessels, and the people who work on this boat are experts in that regard. Many of them have come, those who do work on the boat come from the United States Navy experience or United States Coast Guard experience.
Many members of the Port Colborne Fire Department, both past and present, were on hand to pay their respects to the Cotter. Among them, Fire Chief George Sesto.
Mike, Commissioner Kane, Tom, on behalf of the City of Port Colborne, Mayor Vance Badaway, Council, and the CAO, it gives us great pleasure to present you with this commemoration of what the Cotter did for us in October of 1960. Take this with our extreme gratitude, sir.
Thank you very much. And on behalf of the Buffalo Fire Department, and in particularly those firefighters, deceased and living, who fought that fire in October of 1960 at the Maple Leaf Mill, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Good stuff, sir. All right, Commissioner, our gold helmet for the Cotter itself. Again, thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir. Bob, if you will, come on up. Sure. Captain Schultz, Commissioner Kane, Captain Higgins. This photograph of the Edward M. Cotter fighting the Maple Leaf Mills fire almost 40 years ago is presented with great appreciation to the captain and crew for the courageous efforts. The fire of October 7th, 1960 of Maple Leaf Mills, the packing house and flour mill, it's a tragic and vivid memory to many current employees, retirees, families, and the community of Port Colborne. The mill was rebuilt in 1960 and continues to be an industry in the city today. The mill was purchased in 1997 by Archers Daniels Midland and operates today as ADM Milling Company. It's great to know that the Buffalo Fireboat is still in operation with a proud history. So on behalf of ADM Milling Co., Maple Leaf Mills, the employees past and present, thank you for being here when needed. Thank you. Certainly we hope to make this an annual event, sir.
And I would like that as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
The Empire Sandy was back at Canal Days this year and available for day and evening cruises. And as she sets sail, here's more sights and sounds from the 22nd annual Canal Days.
And if I hit back, yeah, I know I'm gonna be the man who's headed to you. 'Cause I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more to be a man who walks 1,000 miles to fall on your door. When I'm working, yeah, I know I'm gonna be the man who's working hard for you. And when I'm money comes in corner of that door, I pass almost every penny on to you. And when I come home, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who comes back home to you. And if I go, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who's gonna worry you. 'Cause I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more to be the man who walks 1,000 miles to follow that your door. And when I'm done, Well, I know I'm gonna dream of the times when I'm with you. And when I go straight on, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who goes along with you. And when I go home, when I come home, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who goes along with you. I'm gonna be the man who goes with you.
Well, our chairman, Mayor Vance, kind of brought the community together, and you know, we got 18 subcommittees that put in countless amount of hours, and they did a terrific job. You know, they're here from the morning to the evening, making sure that their part of the event was taken care of, and you know, everything went without a hitch. And you know, hats off to the planning committee, and then the volunteers that picked up garbage, cleaned the streets at night, and all the different city departments that help put the event together. I think that the festival is unique just because of the canal. Like any kind of product or business, it's because of the location. And nowhere else in Canada you can just, or even, you know, the United States, where you can just have a festival along a street with the shops, the restaurants, see ships from all over the world pass by, and have great docking facilities that you can go on board the ship and go out to Lake Erie for a sail or a cruise on one of the vessels.
This unique vessel belongs to the American Wind Symphony Orchestra. We close our coverage with part of their performance, along with highlights from the Parade of Lights and fireworks spectacle. So long from Port Colborne.